guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So thank you so much for everybody for being patient. I know I was supposed to do 31 days straight of Halloween uploads, but I got sick at the very end of October, so I couldn't do the last couple of videos. So thank you so much for being patient. And I was gone for the last 2 weeks to Mexico, so now I'm back and I am ready to read some spooky stories with you guys. So I have a bunch of Reddit posts that I want to read and I'm very excited. So as per usual, I have my wicked candle in here, making the whole room smell like a caramel apple, and let's jump into these spooky stories. So the first one is from the Paranormal Encounters section, and it's from the Reddit author Byro Ace Quill, and it's titled, Am I Haunted? For some context, my hometown is weird. I won't go into too much detail as to not dox myself, but I will say that people give seasonal haunted tours of my city, and it has a long history of strange things and people coming here. Growing up here, I learned things like what hiking trails lead to different places at different times of day, and to always be respectfully silent if you go into the props basement in our local theater. That's just how things are around here. It wasn't strange to me until I went to college halfway across the state. My first roommate in school was very superstitious. They claimed to be very good at detecting ghosts and would tell me all stories of spooky things and supposedly haunted buildings that they'd gone to. I didn't really put much stock into it, but I remember them claiming that there was a presence in our dorm room after I moved in. They complained of cold spots, feeling watched, things falling from the walls, and phantom footsteps. I chalked the things falling and phantom footsteps up to us living in a dorm room with active neighbors, and I didn't really care to explain the rest. I was almost never in our dorm anyway, preferring to do my studying elsewhere on campus. Several months later, I moved out. I got my first apartment side by side with my new roommate. They're superstitious as well, but less so than my first roommate. They never outrightly suggested that we had a ghost, but they did point out that our apartment had some strange quirks. Things we thought we had stuck to the walls just fine would fall down, sometimes with more force than it seemed like necessary. Doors would get cold, and we would hear what sounded like footsteps crossing the living room and going into our bedroom. The front door would rattle in places seemingly at random. It was a pretty rundown building, so we just shrugged it off as the building being old and not up to code. Twice is a coincidence, but 3 times is a pattern. About a month and a half ago, I moved into a new apartment with my best friend. Every now and then, we would hear knocking at the front door, and no one would be there. It's the same knock each time, 2 quick taps. We got cold spots around the kitchen island and in our bedroom. If I close the bedroom door at night, it rattles in its frame, just like the front door in my old apartment would. To top it off, a few days ago, one of our neighbors from the apartment below ours dropped by to mention that we were walking around kind of loudly in the evenings, and politely asked us if we could be quieter. This wouldn't be an issue, except my partner and I aren't home in the evenings. They mentioned the footsteps usually being loud around 8 or 9 p.m., but we don't get home from work until after 11. The apartment should be empty. We haven't tried hanging anything on the walls yet, but I have a feeling if we did, it wouldn't stay. My partner is starting to get a little freaked out, and I have to admit, I'm stumped. I've checked for drafts, made sure the doors are all latched correctly, and I've done everything else I can to think of to find that is logical, non-paranormal explanation for whatever is going on. It wasn't until I started writing posts about it that I realized that this was a pattern with the places that I've lived since moving out of my childhood home. My childhood home is normal as any other old house in my hometown. It did used to creak as if someone were wandering around, but I've always assumed all old houses will do that. I never had issues putting up posters, and I never saw any rattling doors that I can remember. The only thing I can think of being unusually odd was feeling watched when I was home alone or trying to sleep at night. But I'm a social person, so that could have just been my regular old anxiety. What do you guys think? Am I overthinking things, or is something haunting me? And that is very, very interesting. It feels like I agree with you in the sense that 3 times in a row, 3 different places, and you're experiencing all of the same things. That sounds like there's something going on than just a coincidence. So really, really curious if they have posted anything else. So they didn't have an update, so I'm just going to move on to the next story. So this is from the Paranormal Encounters section. It is from the Reddit author TheCloud606, and it's titled, Posting this to multiple communities to try to get some answers. It was always a tradition in my family to go to my grandfather's house every Sunday for lunch. It was a tradition that had happened since before me and my older sister were born. The house had always given me a weird vibe since I was about 7, yet for some reason, I felt attached to the house, more than I did my own. It's not unusual to feel like a place you go to a lot is like a second home, but it felt like more than that. I know that it sounds fake, and it's up to you whether or not you want to believe me, but I would get a physical pain in my chest whenever we would go to leave. It was if something was trying to keep me there. My grandfather passed away in early 2020 due to a mountain of health complications. Me and my family moved into his house to keep it in the family. I got my uncle's old room, and my parents got the spare room, the biggest room in the house. And my sister got my grandfather's room. This is important. By the time the pain I would get in my chest stopped, I thought I probably should have told someone. I was a kid at the time, and I was having these pains, so I didn't really know what was going on and if it could be serious or not. Everything was going fine for at least 3 weeks or so. We got settled in, and life continued as normal. This was until my sister started getting scratches down her leg while she would sleep. They were long and went from around her thigh to her knee. She has scars from them. There were some nights she would wake up with what looked like burns on her arms as well. I thought for a long time that this was a ploy to scare me, although looking back, I highly doubt that she would burn or scratch herself for a joke. I would start to see shadows in the corner of my eye, but because I loved horror movies so much, I chalked it up to my imagination. My sister moved out when she was about 18, and I got her old room. After about 2 weeks of being in that room, I started to fully experience what my sister was talking about. I got long scratches down my legs and my chest area. We have a dog, but she sleeps in my parents' room. This was not the experience that I truly instilled my belief in spirits, though. I started to hear things coming from the attic. It was more than an occasional noise, though. Every single night, I could hear what sounded like a harsh footsteps and scurrying constantly. I originally had the same thought that a lot of people are probably thinking. It was a rat or some sort of rodent. So my parents did the natural thing and called an exterminator. However, when the exterminator came and looked in the attic, there was no rodents and no traces that a rodent had ever been up there in the first place. I am currently writing from the inside of my grandfather's old room because yes, I still live in this house. So that's really creepy. I'm curious though if you have any other updates. If you have any other updates and you want to send to the channel, I will definitely read more of your stories because that's really creepy. And the fact that you still live in that house is super fucking scary. And I don't like the fact that you're hearing things from your attic. That's like my biggest fear. After watching Paranormal Activity, I'm just terrified of attics. Just the whole vibe of them in general, I don't like. So that is super creepy. I'm really interested if you have an update, so please let us know. The next one that I'm going to read is from the paranormal section. It is from the Reddit author C333_, and it's titled, "Woke up around 4 a.m. in my pitch dark room and I saw a large looking figure staring at me." This morning around 4 a.m., I woke up. This is a very unusual of me to wake up this early, and I saw a large, I'd say about 7 foot tall looking figure in front of my mirror staring at me. For reference, my bed is on the side of my wall, and next to it is my mirror and makeup cart. This figure seemed to be staring directly at me, but when I turned on my lamp that's next to my bed, it evaporated and disappeared. Typing this out makes me doubt myself, but I honestly know what I saw. It's been giving me a lot of anxiety, and I just wanted to know if this is anything that I should look into or if anyone knows anything about anything like this. It scared me pretty bad, and I wasn't able to go back to sleep. I 100% believe in paranormal activity, ghosts, etc., and so this gives me an extra scare. To add into this, I stay home by myself a good amount of the time, and I've always been hearing tapping on the walls, bumps downstairs, and sometimes I'll hear the occasional shuffling sound down the hallway. I looked it up and I didn't get any answers, so this is my last resort. Edit. I also feel I should mention that in my house, we turn on the heat when we go to sleep, and my room ends up being very hot because it's upstairs. And when I woke up, I was shaking because of how cold I was. This is very unusual because if I'm being honest, I usually wake up sweating. I was the last one to fall asleep, and when my house is asleep, we're in a dead sleep. No one would have turned the AC on. Second edit. So this morning, the same thing happened. I woke up again around 4 a.m. and I woke up facing my wall. When I turned over to check the time on my phone, I saw the same exact figure standing in the same spot. I had the blanket over my mirror and I thought that would help, but it didn't. I'm pretty worried and I'm thinking of doing a cleansing in my room or even my whole house. Oh my God, I hate the idea of seeing something at night. That is like my biggest fear. So my brother and I were talking the other day about just like the creepy things he's experienced in his apartment. And he has said that he has like experienced like the shadow people in like the corner of his eyes. And he's just like waiting for one day that when he turns to look in the kitchen that there's just gonna be like a mass standing there. And I know that's just like my brother's anxiety over the paranormal because he's experienced some crazy things in his house. But he's like, if I see a mask standing there, I'm just gonna fully charge at it. And I just laugh because I'm like, you and me are the exact same person. Like, we're so like ready to fight, but I know that if I saw a big mass of a shadow person standing in my room in the middle of the night, I would probably shit my pants. So thank you so much for allowing me to read these stories. These stories are all so creepy, and I hate the fact that you see things at night. That is my biggest fear, because a lot of the time my boyfriend is working out of town and I'm sleeping alone, and I do not want to see something at night. I hate that so much. I also have been experiencing a lot of like sleep grogginess lately. I don't really have issues sleeping that often, but lately, I don't know if it's just like stress from the trip and like there's been a lot happening in my life. I just have been waking up being really confused and really groggy and having like almost hallucinations. And I know it's a very normal thing if you're like highly stressed. I don't like anything to do with sleep, like sleep paralysis and sleep grogginess and sleep hallucinations. All of those things are just like not my vibe, and I hate that so much. So I hope I don't experience that. But thank you so much to everybody that allowed me to read your stories today. I know this is going to be a quicker video than usual, but I'm just getting back in the swing of things. I will be trying to post about 3 videos a week going forward. So probably every second day or so I will have a new video. So I'm hoping you guys are still interested in my channel and still loving my channel. If you guys made it to the end of this video, leave me your favorite tropical emoji because I just got back from Mexico and I would love to have a conversation with you guys in my comment section down below. So leave me anything that you guys want to talk about down below and I will definitely make sure I at least heart react to everybody that leaves me a comment. It helps boost my video on YouTube and it really helps get my channel out into a bigger audience. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.